and welcome to another episode of CTO Talks. My name is Dmitry Stepanov and I am a co-founder and Chief Technology Officer of Glorium Technologies, international technology company hosting tonight's event. This is a video podcast for technical leaders and for those who want to become them someday. We have guests who possess extensive experience in the area of technology, and tonight's guest is Murat Ozturan, technology advisor from iMart Technologies. But before we start our discussion, consider subscription to our channel. We have lots of great content coming soon, including future installments of CTO Talk. Now let's talk about our guest, Murat. Architect, translator, connector, leader, speaker, world citizen. Murat, it's nice to have you on our podcast today and tell us more about, I guess let's start with those characteristics you gave to yourself at LinkedIn. So you are an architect, basically, right?
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
mean that's my core business, core talent that I believe I have.
Mhm.
And thank you very much for the introduction, Dimitri. Yes, I believe I'm a consultant and an architect. That's what I'm passionate about in the technology perspective, and obviously that comes with very much is the core of CTO works that I've done as well. And it is very important to be able to not only understand the technology and implement it, but you need to understand what the technology is used for. Is a important core aspect for an effective CTO. I think that's
Okay.
an important part of it.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. How about translator?
hmm Translator is one of those things that has been very useful to me. One of the main things about it is being able to talk the business language versus the technology language. Because one of the things that we are challenged with is technologists say something, they are very excited about a feature, functionality, etc. But they don't understand how it's being used inside the business itself. What is it solving? What is really creating? One of the challenges, I mean, I've been nearly 30 years in Microsoft. One of the challenges we have a lot of great technologists who creates amazing technologies, but
Mhm.
they never been in the business side. So the communication between the business people and the technology people is a very challenging one. You know, they bring up this technology and they go, "Oh, this is amazing! Look at this feature, functionality, or etc." Then the business people goes, uh, "Okay, I don't understand. How am I going to use this thing?" And vice versa. The business people comes in and says, "You know, I have this problem, and how can I solve it?" And one of the things that it was, I wasn't the most popular person in the sales organization in Microsoft because
Mhm.
quite a lot of times when the business people says, "What can I buy to solve this problem? What technology do I need?" And I would say, "Oh, you don't need to buy anything. You already purchased it. You are just not using it." You know, it's people assumes that just people because this organization or this group
Mhm.
purchased that technology doesn't mean that they know how to use it or what it's going to be good for.
Interesting. So that's actually a topic came up several times in our previous conversation, and and it's getting discussed more and more frequently, at least in my experience, and that's
Yeah,
actually it's a good sign. I mean, technology and business
exactly.
coming together closer and closer, and there
Yeah,
is more and more understanding that both sides are important and both sides need to understand each other.
exactly.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
How
I mean,
about?
look at it. I mean, I used to start my presentations. I was on the much more on data warehousing, data,
Mhm.
etc. for a while, and I used to ask the organizations, "Is data warehouses a dirty word in your organization?" Because people spend a lot of money and implemented data warehousing solutions, but they never understood, the business side never understood how to utilize it, how to leverage it. It was a very exciting project for technology people, but really they didn't see the business value. But now today, for example, with the AI, look at how exciting and people are actually aware of what's happening, at least aware of it, and they're asking for it. And that's a major difference between certain technologies that business people understood and how to leverage and put it in place and solve the business solutions, get a competitive advantage, whatever it needs to be.
By the way, that since you kind of touched this topic, it's been always like this. I mean, I remember with the cloud solution, it was a buzzword. Everybody was saying, "Oh, we need to move to the cloud solution," without actually understanding what is a cloud solution
Exactly.
and what is for. Data warehouses is the same. Don't you think artificial intelligence is somewhat on the same page? Very
Yes,
noisy buzzword. Everybody likes it. We want to be in the business, but very few people actually understand. I don't think benefits, everything is dreaming about benefits and how can be used, but very few people understand actual limitations and where exactly it can
yes,
be very useful be used. Yeah, you can see some influencers using it here or using it there, optimizing and saving money,
yes,
but it's not scalable solution. It's more
yes.
like, yeah, you can use it here, you can use it here, but actual solutions are not there yet. People don't know how to use it properly on the big scale
Sure.
yet,
And
right?
the one of the biggest challenges, I mean, that was I used to go, and during the executive meetings is like, there's a hype word at the moment is AI. It used to be blockchain, it used to be cloud, as you were saying it, or data warehousing. It's there's a hype words out there, and people get excited. I think it needs to be very important role of a CTO to make them understand how is relevant to their business. What is the status of the technology? Because you can really make the demos look amazing,
Yeah.
it's incredibly important. I mean, but of course, it's great that people are excited and they want to try things, etc. But they're going to be disappointed. I mean, one of the things that they see these amazing results, data warehousing, going back to those examples, or the cloud, is like they see this amazing savings or amazing competitive advantage. And one of my jobs was to go to businesses and explain to them, hey, this is a day-to-day job, and if you make like 0.01% increase in your sales today with your data warehousing solution, that's a good day. It's not that the biggest example of Clorox increase their sales by 30% because they start making promotions in the flu sections of flu pandemics happening in the country.
Right.
That's a great example, but as an extreme, you're not going to have a everyday 30% increase in the things that you do. So you're 100% right about the AI as well. It just needs to be balanced and understood what is possible, what is not, and what's going to be in the future.
Yeah. But it definitely should not prevent us to take this
Oh,
challenge and look for best
yeah,
solutions,
it's
right?
very exciting. I mean, for techies, even more exciting. But I believe technology people are a little bit more realistic on the end up with the what can it be done. But the business people gets very excited, then they get very disappointed, and that's what worries me. It's like that's why I use the word like dirty word as a data warehousing, because they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and they never really achieved the imagined benefit that they were getting.
Yeah, but I mean, you kind of wrapped optimistic word as a negative word for engineers or for technician, but as my one of my mentors, actually very good mentor, I still learn from him. He said, do not put negative on any character of the person.
Mhm.
Use this character to your advantage.
Yeah, yeah.
If they are optimistic, use this
Of
optimism
course.
to your
No,
advantage.
I mean, I say it realistic in the sense that I think it's different roles, and it depends what role you are playing in the organization. If
True.
you're a CTO, your job is to think forward and look at optimistically what's happening and how this technology can be utilized. If you're a CIO, then you're trying to balance it to put it together into how to utilize it in the organization for the right time at the right moment.
Great.
Okay,
Yes.
but quite a lot of people don't have the luxury to be, separate CTO versus CIO. If you are playing the both roles, so your role needs to be balanced very much so.
True. That's true. Hard to argue about this. Connector,
Yeah,
establishing long-term relationship. So
yeah,
that's actually is important piece, I think, because
very
what.
important in the sense that what we are doing is connecting solutions. Because one of the things that I find out is sometimes we are, as a technology people, we like to do everything hands-on, and we like to put our stuff together, and we like to write the code, etc. But there's a lot of solutions that's been built outside. Okay, there's no need to redo it. And whoever says things like, oh, I don't trust this, etc., even the old school people, I go, well, you use libraries, you use other codes, so
Right.
you need to trust other people's solutions and leverage it, because it's no point, if you are a financial institution or manufacturing,
Mhm.
it's no point for you to write a deep detailed code for something that you can purchase it from outside, who's going to be maintained, and who's going to be leveraged much easier and faster. Okay,
True.
so from that perspective, it's very important to be able to not only understand the technologies, but understand what other people are doing it, and any of it can be leveraged internally. I mean, open source is a great example of it. You can go and look at it. It's what's being done. If you can be leveraging any of those open source or stuff out there,
Great.
or partners and expertise. For example, I mean, you might be a small organization who doesn't need all the expertise on every technology in there. You might have to hire certain people, or you might have to just purchase a solution in there. So connector is very important. It's like Lego pieces. You want to put it together, the right pieces in the right place to create the overall need, overall structure that's
Right.
going to help the business that you are in. And it's very important that you understand the business that you are in. And that was one of my biggest learnings. I think I was very lucky to be, my first job out of the college in US was in Paris, in Renault, the car company.
Mhm.
And first week I went there, and they told me to go to factory. And I'm like, to HR people, I said, hey, I'm a technology person, I'm a coder, I'm a system analyst. What are you talking about? They go, no, no, you need to go to the factory and start putting tires to the cars, and understand that in Renault we make cars. Okay, and whatever you do in Renault should be making cheaper, faster, more reliable cars. You're not here just for technology. And that was a big learning for me. That changed my career significantly.
Yeah, that's actually to some extent correlate to your previous statement about translation. So
Yes.
you do need to understand what you're building
Yeah.
at the end of the day. You're not creating a function. You're not
No.
creating a piece, a detail. No, not even putting a tire, as you said. You actually
Yeah.
building a car, and
Building a
that
car. Yeah.
is how you build the car. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep, that's true. There is another aspect about connector character. It's about resolving conflicts in the relationship,
Uh-huh.
aligning. So, can you a little bit give us
Mhm.
some insights in this
Um,
direction?
Obviously, I mean, you are coming from technology person, but as a CTO, is you need to be this person who can really translate it to make sure that people understand from each other,
Right.
then understand the priorities, and if there's a conflict happens in there, try to explain what's happening. Okay, and making sure that you talk with the business people, and make them understand the details why this technology is important or this technology is not relevant, versus you need to explain to technology people why this technology is relevant or not relevant to our business, whatever we are doing, whatever the manufacturing, finance, hospitality, whatever the business and industry we are in. So it's very important to be able to make people sit together and understand what's happening there. Secondly, in the executive meetings as a CTO, your responsibility is represent the technology and bring that point of view that's coming in. But it needs to be very balanced and understood. And it needs to be a very hand to hand, if you have a CIO in the organization, very aligned messages in there. And communication is the main part of it. But that goes both ways. That means that as a CIO or CTO, you need to understand what the challenges of the business are. Okay, you might get very excited about the AI, but for example, because of the pandemic, we know at the moment we have a significant supply chain problems all around in the manufacturing and retail, etc.
Right.
That's the number one issue. You might be very excited about the robotics that's going to help you do the data warehouse management, but that doesn't mean that if you don't have the material that's coming in the supply chain, robotics is not going to help you to put in the shelves, because because you don't have that luxury. So it needs to be a very good conflict in the sense that I'm a big believer on the positive thinking of everybody. Everybody is trying to build a solution, is going to try to make the business better.
Right.
So understanding and communication is the key to that.
True. So basically aligning compromises,
Yeah.
making sure, I mean, conflicts, I think, is somewhat inevitable in our roles.
Oh yeah,
It's,
definitely.
it's always going to be, I
Oh,
mean,
and I mean I do actually enjoy it because a lot of good things comes from the conflicts.
well,
Okay.
as long as they are resolved constructively, right? No,
Exactly.
no,
And because I'm a big believer that, like, if everything is positive, I try to make sure that this is really a positive. Are we not having conflict because everybody is aligned, or everybody is ignoring each other, and that looks initially very positive and makes you feel good because you go to a meeting, nobody discusses or disagrees with you, and I'm worried about that kind of situations. You know.
something is coming, right? Something
Yeah,
is doing
exactly. I
not
mean,
good.
yeah,
Okay, yeah, same. Good. Speaker. So you participated in multiple events, right?
yeah,
You also work with a college student.
yeah.
What kind of college students you working? What do you do?
Mostly technology people who are graduating, and mentoring them, and also telling them what's happening. And with the technology, I paint them a little bit of a picture of saying future is unknown. you know we've seen a lot. I mean, I'm old enough to remember from mainframes to PCs to color screens to keyboard to mouse, and all these things that was completely new we learned.
Yeah,
And but the college students don't realize that they're natural on these things. They are graduating from it, and they don't understand when relatively older people don't realize as easy as they are. Okay, quite a lot of people who's born today, who's graduating today are touch screen for them is something natural. I mean, they
right.
didn't have to learn; they just grow up with it. But for us, you, me, and etc., is we learn this thing. I mean, this is something that is, uh, uh, you know, very interesting. Like I was reading yesterday, for example, um, we had to learn that email is too slow. Is instant messaging is a normal way to communicate, or messaging boards. Okay, and that's something we had to learn. It's not something that comes easy. So you don't expect out of the college at the moment that everybody you go and talk to is using that kind of messaging, that kind of communication, and that's a very important part of making the new people understood that. As a speaker, it's very important what are the goals that you're doing it, and what are the audiences. Okay, it's very important to be able to change your language. If you are talking to a bunch of technology and architects, your language and your demos, etc., is going to be very different than somebody who's just coming out of college, or somebody who completely business. So most important thing about the speaking is who's the audience, and what is the hot topics about them. Okay, and adjust your speaking engagement based on that. And we have the luxury, and I'm a geek. I love to do technology demos. Show you how I write this code, or how did I do this. But that doesn't mean that's the right audience. I mean, you're gonna lose the people halfway through. It's like, what is Murat is doing up there? It's like, he's typing stuff like he's not excited. Completely different audience will be very excited about it. So it's very important to be able to engage with and understood. And people organizing the talks, I mean, we had with you, Dimitri, is a pre-conference and sit down and understand what kind of people are going to be, what kind of topics we are going to talk,
Right.
how technology deep we are going to go or not.
True. Murat, I mean, Tuesday, that's actually a very interesting question. You said that all we grew with mouses, with the keyboards, with color screens. It was all new and unusual for us. But new mouses and new color screens are coming. It's going to be it's a infinite growth, right?
Yeah.
Do they actually understand that it is something will come and something exciting will be meeting them sometimes in the future, near future, mid future? I mean, do they actually look at this somehow, reflection to the past, or?
I mean, it is very important to understand the past, but look at the future, what's gonna be. Okay. My favorite things. I don't know if you ever watched the perfect demo from the in 1960s, when they did the if you look at the perfect demo that's been done, they did everything like cut and paste and video conferencing, etc. And in the history, you learn so much and you try to get to it. And new people who are graduating, they understand that, like, they're very excited about things like augmented reality, virtual reality, and spatial thinking and AI, etc. But they don't understand that, especially when you are working for an organization. If it's not a startup, if it's a startup, it's great to start from scratch. But you come with the technology that you already have established systems, okay, and you need to work with them. So as a CTO, you can't be just looking at the future. You need to understand how to bring these older technologies with us, how to get it into a modern era. But that is, unfortunately, it's the reality of it. If you are really passionate about health, unfortunately, if you go in there, you will see even Windows 3.11s out there, being utilized. You can't be saying that I want to use the latest technology. Oh, how about Android? It's just not going to happen.
Okay, so true. I mean, it's hard to argue about this, especially healthcare or real estate. Actually, is a nature of facts. It's a
I put the extreme case, but healthcare is a
very
very relevant.
very conservative domains with a very old. I mean, I don't want to use obsolete technology because they are not obsolete. They're
Sure,
still up to the security
sure,
compliance. They meet all the
sure.
stuff, so you cannot call them obsolete. But again, from the graduate standpoint, they are obsolete. I mean, who is
Yeah,
using
oh,
all
of
this
course,
stuff? But again, at the same time, we should use new technologies.
of course,
We should look find the ways to implement those new technologies without disrupting,
yeah,
without or destroying. I mean, worse
of
businesses.
course.
Processes. I mean, you cannot just say, "Hey, let's stop the work in this business for 1 year until we rebuild it." It just doesn't work this way. I'm sorry,
It's
guys.
not going to happen.
That's not
Yeah,
something happening. I mean, and you need to understand the business. And
yeah,
again, you need not just technologically meet needs of the business, but business needs. You need to
yes.
understand
Right.
business needs of the business, so to say. World citizen.
Mm.
Hmm.
Um, it's very important to understand what's happening around the world.
Hmm.
Sometimes we get isolated in a very single environment, and we are even you are in Silicon Valley as a technologist, you're in there. But you
Right.
need to understand, for example, that high speed connectivity, low latency is not a reality in the rest of the world. You know, there's still a lot of places around the world that is dealing with offline type of situations, very high latency, low bandwidth type of situations. So it's
Okay.
very important to be able to understand first of all the environments that other people are working in. Secondly, it's very important to understand the solutions that they're bringing in, and that's an amazing way of looking at it, because quite a lot of times in different countries, different environments, they come up with very interesting solutions and very creative solutions that we need to leverage. So I was lucky enough to travel the world and lived in so many countries. I lived in every continent and every different places. I lived in about 8 different countries, and that helps me a lot and make them understood. You know, and different communication styles is very important, especially if your company is working internationally. The way you communicate in Europe versus in Middle East versus in Asia is a completely different way of communicating and making the your point understood by them.
Can you give some kind of examples
Of
from your
course. I
experience?
mean, um, while you go into Japan, you present something, everybody listens, everybody shakes head, and doesn't mean that they understood nor they agree with you. Okay, but they're not going to raise it in the meeting.
Okay.
Right? Let me go to the extreme. If you go to Israel, there's going to be a lot of discussions and arguments during the meeting. There's going to be heated conversations, and that's normal as well. And both sides is trying it. In Japan, they'll go outside between the meetings, or until your next meeting. They're going
Mhm.
to have in the background all these discussions, etc. And it's not going to happen during the meeting when you're presenting it.
I see.
Okay. On the other hand, uh, in Israel, you'll be solving the problems during the meeting itself, and your job is much more trying to control the content, doesn't go into tangents, etc.
Mhm.
And the other thing is very important as well is the attitudes of people. Like, for example, if you go to Asia, different countries in most of the Asia, in Southeast Asia or China, etc., they want you to show examples. Who's done this thing in my industry? Show me a couple of examples who are utilizing it. If you go to Middle East, or let's say even New Zealand, Australia is like that. Oh, I want to be the first. I want to be in the newspaper saying that this is the first bank who does gaming console, Xbox banking. Okay, so it's very different attitudes of approaching towards technology. Okay, so it's very important. And you come to US, for example, and they have established technologies, established architectures. That's very difficult to move. So they are very cautious in that, saying that what's going to happen to my existing systems. Okay. So it's a very different, and you need to understand it's that, again, going back to understanding your audience and who are you talking with, how to communicate with them is very important. And different countries, different cultures have different kind of motivators out.
But you need to be very careful. Sometimes
Yeah.
they don't behave according to their country, right? So you need to
Oh, very
know
much
the
so.
team.
Very much so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's actually very interesting examples. And okay, so we actually went through your characters that you presented in the
Yeah.
LinkedIn. Um, you mentioned that you have a very unique experience from Singapore. I mean, that's
Yes.
something different from everything else, I guess, even from the examples you provided before during
Yeah.
the conversation.
I mean, Singapore was very interesting in the sense that I lived 3 years in there as a CTO, and
Mhm.
I was part of the services. And as we were just talking about the different countries and different communication styles, it's very different. Singapore is a very different than Malaysia versus Japan versus Australia and New Zealand, that or China. And it's very important to be able to completely change how you present the technology from one place to another. Okay. It's quite a lot of times people have this standard text and standard ways of explaining how the technology is going to be utilized. But it's for me, it was a very important to be able to try to custom choosing right words, right ways to present the same technology and why it's important for them, for their business, and for their business challenge that they're having.
But
Okay.
hold on, isn't it? It's you should use this approach pretty much with every culture. I mean,
Yes,
explain
of
how
course.
technology resolves the business, what's the value. I
Yes,
don't know. I
yes,
mean, without even putting to ROI or something like this, you reflect technology through the value to the business, right?
yes,
So
yes.
how is Singapore is different?
Singapore itself is very, very interesting. It's a very organized place. It's very advanced, and they like to do things, but they are very cautious about it. Okay, so they are not taking chances with a lot of technologies. They try a lot of things, and they will try it and look at it,
Mhm.
and the very structure itself. And it was a very interesting. They have a very, very methodical approach to problems, and they solve it in a larger scale. One of the very most organized cities I've ever seen, country city, and with an approach that is very much unique to their own environment. Very different than the rest of the other countries in other places. I mean, for example, first time I joined, I was there for their national days. Okay, and there was this planes are passing, and the military is showing up their resources. I go like, how is this possible that they have so many planes? Like, where are these planes? They go, oh yeah, we do our trainings in Australia. We have a base in Australia, and we have a base in Utah, in United States,
Mhm.
for training purposes. So
Yeah.
1/3 of the fleet is in here in Singapore, 1/3 in Australia, 1/3 in Utah, doing the trainings. And you're like, okay, if you have a region that is like, your country is 40 miles to about 60 miles, big island, then you need to find innovative ways of, solving problems, and that impactive. So they're very creative in that kind of solutions, and they're very quick to adapt the technologies when they see the value of it. They go very quickly and they go, okay, what we need to do. Well, we talked about how small the country is. They were purchasing soil from Malaysia and Indonesia to increase the size of the. They increased about 15% of the island as a size to build industries on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Then they went into technology, for example, when the drilling of roads. If you notice, like there's a big improvement last 15 years, 20 years on building underground tunnels. Okay, they just went and purchased multiple of these things, and their aim in the next 25 years is going to be take 40% of non-essential buildings underground. Okay, so they're really building underground stuff to be able to do that. They're very, for example, security aware, and they have hundreds of cameras in the highways, etc. And they cannot man to watch the cameras. So they were very interested very early in the days about the AI, how to recognize challenges, how to be able to, focus on that and find it. So they're a very, very advanced in technology, but they're very realistic where the value is and how to utilize it.
So basically, methodical approach with a very
Yeah.
quick implementation, right? Well, I guess Singapore, no space for mistake, right?
Yeah, no, no, no. And I mean, they have the luck. I mean, I call it luxury. Is a financially very good in the sense of the country.
Mhm.
The population is relatively small. The
Yes,
area is
small.
limited, and that helps them to be able to do these things very quickly. It's not easy if you are in Russia or United States. Then you are completely separate. You have established systems, and it's to be able to change things straight away like that.
True. But I mean, it's too expensive. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
okay. Old businesses are threatened by new technologies.
Mm,
Um,
yeah. Um, One of the things that I used to tell people that the business people that they need to understand that they have competition, and there's going to be a competition. In the old days, they were very secure about things. Like you couldn't open a bank unless you have a mainframe, okay, and that was the main thing. It's like I don't need to. Then you start having online businesses and online banks, and it's no longer that you need to have a technology investment from past to be able to do certain things. Okay, and one of the things that I used to tell, because I used to visit the central banks of these countries when I was traveling around, I said, be careful, you might have a competition. That's when the digital currencies, etc., became a reality. Okay, even central banks of the countries start having competition, or at least, you might disagree, like if it's how real or how not real the competition is the digital currencies are,
we don't
but
know yet.
it's the competition.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
it's a challenge. Like in the old days, no central bank thought that somebody is going to come and put another currency in their country. Okay, I mean they were in control of the foreign currency coming in, and they control the amount of currency that they have, etc. And they are challenged significantly now. Like, okay, we need to think about this. What is digital currencies? Uh, Fortunately, I believe it's a very creative word, and every business is very challenged with the technology solutions, because the startups and new companies are coming up, and they are very quickly changing the business
Mhm.
and really looking at it. I mean, a great example: taxi companies, they made no investment on the technologies. Okay, and very little way to be for you other than raising your hand in the road and pulling a taxi. Maybe you could call them and ask for a taxi, but that was it.
Yes.
Suddenly Uber or similar type of share Grab taxi or Grab or Uber, etc., is left is changed the world. Okay, suddenly it's like taxi companies are suffered because they really ignore the technology. Okay, and it's very important if you are in an organization as a CTO with an established business and you feel very secure, you need to look at what's happening out there. Okay,
True.
uh, I know it's going to be a very old example, but Microsoft, we went 3 times to Encyclopedia Britannica, which had thousands of writers, and they were the #1 encyclopedia, printed encyclopedia in the world.
Right.
Okay, and one of the things that I felt very sad about when I was graduating, they would come to the universities and try to sell you the encyclopedia. I
Yeah.
could never afford it, and that was like one thing that I was feeling really bad. And Microsoft, we went there 3 times to explain to them that there's an online business coming up. During that time, it was CDs, etc., and they refused to listen. Okay, today there's no such a company called Encyclopedia Britannica. Okay, we come up with Encarta that became online, and something like Wikipedia took over all that encyclopedia mentality and take over the world.
Yeah.
And uh, Encyclopedia Britannica is a feature from the past and history. Yeah, it's the reality of it. No business should feel comfortable that they're there to stand and they're going to be there forever. Even they're not, looking at what the competition, what the technologies are changing.
Yeah, and actually, you raised the scale up to the central banks. I actually want to raise the scale to countries. I mean,
Yes, yes.
they building islands
Oh, yeah,
which are
exactly.
independent countries, and who knows what they're gonna do with the space. So every single entity on all aspects, starting with very small and most
Exactly.
global peace, are threatened. I mean,
Uh,
and it's not threatened again, and not in the bad way. It's a competition. Competition
yes.
part of the progress. So we just
I mean,
cannot. Yeah,
the
it's a
challenges, for
competition.
example, the
Yeah,
countries, as you were saying it, is brain drain.
yeah,
You know, one of the I think is the saddest thing is for a country to happen is the people leaving with people who knows technology, who are good in business, etc., leaving the country and going to somewhere else. Okay, I think that's a big competitive disadvantage and advantage in for countries. I mean, it is. Uh, uh, I find to be United States is managing that very well. It's still the best place to go and do your research, do your
business.
startups, etc.
Yeah,
And that brings a huge competitive advantage in the world compared to other countries. Okay, and that's a very important part of it. You're 100% right. Countries constantly competing, and you know I love that. What was it about 20 years ago? The Earth is flat, and it's true. I mean, it's as a technology person, it doesn't matter where you're coming from, or as a person who's seeing the future, you could move on to any place.
true.
True, and that's what.
I guess both of us
Yeah,
somewhat participated in the
exactly.
brain drain. I mean, we
Yeah,
selected the
yeah,
best place to apply
exactly.
our knowledge and
Yeah,
talents.
I'm Turkish person. That's where I did. That's where I'm coming from, and now I live in the United States. It was, it is one of those things. It's unfortunately is a competitive advantage, and the countries, as you were saying it, needs to start thinking how to keep these people in place and provide an environment that they can continue their research, they can continue their startups, their technologies, etc., to be competitive in the with other countries.
Yeah, but you see, it's the same way as you said. It's an old mentality. It's a manufacturing. It's a resources. It's
Yeah,
I don't know, oil, gas, metals, whatever it is. So it's well, I mean, there is some movement in the human resources, but
yeah, definitely.
it's still slow. I mean, it's well, different factors. We're not even going into the political because it's
Yeah,
more
yeah.
complicated than just not understanding.
Of course, sure, sure.
Um, learn relearn and unlearn. That's actually your second person putting this
Yes,
together. Is it some kind of what is it from some I don't
yes.
know some source, some
It's
book?
1970s book called Future Shock. He was a futurist guy, and that's my motto. And my mentor and Norm Judah, he might be even in this call, is the one that pointed out exact this wording to me. And he says that in 21st century, people are not going to be literate or illiterate. They need to learn how to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And as a technology people, especially at certain age like me and you, etc., it's we realize that we cannot stick to learning something and stick to that knowledge. And it's happening. I mean, with the AI, etc., and like what you learned about the AI like 2 years ago is completely different than what's happening today.
True.
Okay,
Yeah.
and you need to really unlearn and relearn about the things. I joined Microsoft in '93, and our product lifecycle was every 2.5, 3 years, sometimes four. And we could go to a week training, and we could leverage that knowledge for about 3 years. We didn't have to learn anything new. Today, if I don't watch regularly blogs, etc., is happening in the cloud, I lose the features and functionality that's coming up like every 2, 3 weeks. So it's very important, and I'm very impressed by this Future Shock. The book is he sees this thing in 1970s and said, it's going to be so fast that you need to learn, unlearn, and relearn very quickly. And that's what we are seeing it. And that's one of the things that that I enjoy, and I learn how to do it. And I believe that every CTO as a role needs to learn and enjoy to be able to have in this shaky ground of learning, unlearning, and relearning, and being able to on top of things. Because when you think about it, how fast the advancements are happening and how fast we need to follow up, it's crazy fast. And it's going to be faster. It's not going to get slower. Unless we got some kind of a solar flare or a World War III, and suddenly we got to lose all the technologies. It's not going to slow down.
Yeah, we will unlearn and relearn. That's actually very interesting because one of the previous speakers, he put it in the sequence I told, so which is to learn, to relearn, and to unlearn.
Yes.
You actually change the sequence, which make it more proper, I guess, because relearning on the empty, I guess, page is much easier than mixing it with the previous technology. Sometimes you have to do it just like, forget
you need
about
to learn from past, no question about it. I mean, when I say unlearn, doesn't mean that you throw away your experiences. I'm talking about specifically technology perspective, specifically from things that you can unlearn from, but it is not the experiences and patterns that you notice, and that's going to be my main topic in the CTO talks that we are going to do in CTO Summit, and how to survive in this fast environment. But I am. It's very important to be able to really actually learn from the experiences as well. When you are learning and unlearning, what did you learn? Why that's not working any longer, and be able to very quickly adapt and understand that patterns and practices and bring it to the new era. So that's a very important one. That, don't get me wrong, it's not like we are starting from complete empty each time type of thing.
But somewhat empty. Okay, so I think it was a very good thought. You need to get ready, and I need to get ready for our CTO Summit.
Yes.
It was very, very nice to talk to you. I actually
nice
enjoyed conversation with you, and I hope I'll talk to you sometimes later.
Yeah, definitely, and looking forward to CTO Summit and sharing how to survive as a CTO in this learn, unlearn, relearn
World.
paradigm.
Yes. Okay, Murat.
All
Yeah.
right, very
Thank
nice
you.
talking to you.
Talk to you
Thank you very
later.
much, Dimitri.
Bye.
Bye.